Amazon stock crashed 94%. It's 2001. Amazon's share price, once $106, now sits at $6. The company has never made a profit. Not a single dollar. In 7 years. Amazon lost $720 million in 1999 and $1.4 billion in 2000. Barron's magazine just published a cover story titled Amazon.Toast. Wall Street analysts are calling for Jeff Bezos to resign. But inside Amazon headquarters, Bezos is doing something that looks insane. He's not cutting costs fast enough. He's not pivoting. He's doubling down on a financial reporting trick that's technically legal, but feels wrong. He's using pro forma earnings, adjusted numbers that exclude massive expenses, to paint a rosier picture than reality. Some call it creative accounting. Others whisper a different word, fraud. But here's what nobody knows yet. Bezos isn't lying about his vision. He's just not telling the whole truth about how he'll get there. This is the story of the scam that saved Amazon. Rewind to spring 1994. Jeff Bezos is 30 years old, earning $250,000 a year at D. Shaw, one of Wall Street's most prestigious hedge funds. He's been promoted to senior vice president, the youngest in the firm's history. Then he reads a statistic that changes everything. Web usage is growing at 2,300% per year. 2,300%. The number haunts him. He runs the projections obsessed. This isn't a trend. It's a revolution. And he's sitting on the sidelines. He approaches his boss, David Shaw, and tells him he wants to leave to start an online bookstore. Shaw suggests a walk through Central Park. For 2 hours, they discuss the decision. Shaw urges caution. You have a great career ahead of you here. Bezos goes home and does something he'll later call his regret minimization framework. He imagines himself at 80 years old looking back. Would he regret trying and failing? Or never trying at all? The answer is obvious. In July 1994, Bezos and his wife Mackenzie drive from New York to Seattle in a used Chevy Blazer. Mackenzie drives while Jeff types out a business plan on a laptop. They choose Seattle for 2 reasons: proximity to tech talent from Microsoft and proximity to Ingram, the largest book distributor in the country. They rent a house in Bellevue, Washington. Amazon operates out of the garage. Bezos builds desks out of doors from Home Depot because they're cheaper than actual desks. It's July 1995. The team is tiny. They're packaging books by hand, driving them to the post office themselves. Amazon.com launches on July 16, 1995. In the first 2 months, they sell to all 50 states and over 45 countries. Orders flood in faster than anyone expected. The little bell that rings with each purchase won't stop chiming. They have to turn it off. But here's the problem. Books have terrible margins. Amazon is spending more to acquire and ship each book than they're making in revenue. The faster they grow, the more money they lose. Bezos doesn't care. Books were never the point. In May 1997, Amazon goes public at $18 per share. Wall Street is skeptical. It's a bookstore that loses money, analysts say on CNBC. Barnes & Noble will destroy them. The stock climbs anyway. By December 1999, it hits $106.69. Then everything collapses. March 2000. The dot-com bubble explodes. It's not gradual. It's carnage. Pets.com burns through hundreds of millions and vanishes. Wevan collapses. eToys disappears. Hundreds of internet companies evaporate overnight. Amazon stock crashes from $113 to $6 in less than a year. The company's market value falls from $30 billion to $2.2 billion. The stock loses more than 90% of its value. Internally, it's worse. Amazon lays off 1,300 employees, 15% of its workforce, in 2001. The mood is grim. Employees are terrified. The media is writing obituaries. Barron's publishes the infamous headline, Amazon.Toast. In his 2001 shareholder letter, Bezos starts with a one-word sentence. Ouch. Board members are furious. Investors are demanding answers. Everyone wants to know the same thing. How is Amazon going to survive? Bezos has a plan, but it requires bending the truth. Amazon starts reporting pro forma earnings, adjusted results that exclude certain expenses. Stock-based compensation? Excluded. Amortization of goodwill? Excluded. Restructuring charges? Gone. In their annual reports for 1999 and 2000, Amazon prominently features these pro forma numbers alongside their actual GAAP losses. It's not illegal, but it's aggressive. In 2000, Bezos tells investors, "We've set the goal of achieving a pro forma operating profit in the fourth quarter of 2001. Translation: if you ignore certain expenses, we'll be profitable." Eventually, critics erupt. This is accounting gimmickry, they say. Class action lawsuits are filed by shareholders alleging Amazon and its officers made false or misleading statements about the company's financial condition. But Bezos isn't worried about the optics. He's focused on survival. And he knows something Wall Street doesn't. The stock is not the company, and the company is not the stock, he tells his team. While the stock price tanks, Amazon's internal metrics, customer numbers, efficiency, defect rates, are all improving rapidly. He just needs to buy time. Time runs out faster than expected. It's late 2001. Amazon has months of cash left. The pro forma reporting bought them breathing room, but now they need something real. And then miraculously it happens. In the fourth quarter of 2001, Amazon reports its first ever profit. 1 cent per share on revenues of more than $1 billion. The profit is just $5 million, barely anything. On a pro forma basis, the quarter shows $59 million in operating profit and $35 million in net profit. It's enough. The narrative shifts. Amazon isn't dying. It's surviving. But Bezos isn't celebrating yet. He knows the retail business will never generate the profits investors want. He needs something else. He needs a secret weapon. While the world focused on books and losses, Bezos was building something in the shadows. The story starts in 2000, during the chaos. Amazon's internal tech infrastructure was a mess. Every time engineers wanted to launch a new feature, they had to rebuild everything from scratch. So they built something new. A modular, scalable cloud computing system. For themselves. Then someone asked, what if we sold this to other companies? In March 2006, Amazon launches Amazon Web Services, AWS. First comes S3, Simple Storage Service, then EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, in August 2006. The tech world laughs. Amazon? Competing with IBM and Microsoft in enterprise computing? Good luck. But AWS is different. It's faster, cheaper, infinitely scalable. Startups can spin up servers in minutes. No upfront costs. No infrastructure. AWS was first to market with modern cloud infrastructure, and it took competitors years to respond. Netflix migrates to AWS. So does Airbnb, and Spotify, and thousands of others. By 2020, AWS accounts for 59% of Amazon's $22.9 billion in operating profit, despite being only 12% of revenue. The struggling bookstore has become a cash machine. But there's another strategy Bezos deployed that nobody saw coming. In November 2000, right in the middle of the crash, Amazon launches Amazon Marketplace, letting third-party sellers list products on Amazon's site. At first, it seems counterintuitive. Why let competitors sell on your platform? But Bezos sees what others don't. Amazon doesn't need to own inventory. They just need to own the customer relationship and take a cut of every transaction. Other people take the risk. Amazon takes the fee. As of 2020, third-party sales account for 54% of all units sold on Amazon. By 2020, third-party sales make up about 60% of Amazon's physical product sales. Amazon has become something unprecedented, a platform that profits from everyone else's work. Today, Amazon is worth over $1.7 trillion. The company that nearly died in 2001 now employs over 566,000 people. AWS is the backbone of the modern internet. Amazon Marketplace hosts millions of sellers. Prime has 200 million subscribers. The pro forma earnings that seemed like accounting tricks in 2000, they became standard practice across Silicon Valley. Everyone started using adjusted EBITDA, non-GAAP metrics, creative presentations. Bezos didn't invent creative accounting, but he normalized it. He proved that if you could buy enough time, if you could make investors believe just long enough, you could turn the illusion into reality. The SEC investigated. Shareholders sued. None of it mattered. Bezos won. So was it a scam? That's the question that haunts business schools to this day. Bezos wasn't lying about his vision. He really did believe Amazon would dominate. He really was building something revolutionary. But he used accounting techniques that made losses look smaller. He presented pro forma numbers that excluded massive expenses. He asked investors to believe in projections that were wildly optimistic. If Amazon had collapsed in 2002, he'd be remembered as another dot-com fraudster. Another CEO who burned billions on impossible promises. Instead, he's a visionary. One of the richest people in history. The difference between fraud and genius is simple. Winning. Here's what keeps Silicon Valley up at night. Every bankruptcy looks the same. WeWork, Theranos, Pets.com, they all made impossible promises. They all burned investor money. They all bent the numbers. The only difference between them and Amazon? Amazon made it work. Bezos bet everything on a future that didn't exist. He used aggressive accounting to buy time. He promised profitability. He hid the real plan, AWS and Marketplace, while keeping investors focused on retail. And because he delivered, nobody calls it fraud. They call it vision. But here's the part that's truly unsettling. When Amazon stock crashed from $113 to $6, Bezos remained calm. He watched every internal metric improve. Customers growing, efficiency increasing, defects dropping, while the stock price collapsed. He knew something the market didn't. He wasn't building a bookstore. He was building infrastructure. AWS. Marketplace. A platform that would eventually own commerce itself. But he couldn't tell anyone. Not yet. Because if he'd walked into that 2000 board meeting and said, "We're going to lose money on retail forever while building a cloud computing empire," the investors would have walked. So he showed them pro forma earnings. He talked about profitability. He bought time with numbers that were technically true but fundamentally misleading. And then he used that time to build something nobody expected. That's the real scam. Not the accounting tricks. The scam was making everyone believe they understood the business, when Bezos was playing an entirely different game. In Amazon's 2001 letter to shareholders, Bezos wrote about reaching a point where we could afford to balance growth and cost improvement. He'd spent 4 years focused exclusively on growth, then 2 years cutting costs. Now he could do both. That moment, late 2001, with the first profitable quarter, was when Amazon stopped fighting for survival and started building an empire. The creative accounting bought him the time he needed. The pro forma earnings kept investors believing. And AWS and Marketplace gave him the actual profits to make it all real. Was it a scam? Was it vision? Was it fraud disguised as innovation? The answer is uncomfortable. It was all of them. The scam that saved Amazon wasn't a lie. It was an incomplete truth told at exactly the right moment to exactly the right people. And because Bezos had the audacity to believe it and the brilliance to execute it, he turned that incomplete truth into the most dominant company in modern history. 25 years later, we still can't decide if we should admire him or fear him. Maybe both.